We're going to hear today about VR and workforce staff, examples of how they talk about one another's programs, how they're everyone's confident in talking about each other's programs, and how that has made its way into various messaging, and such as websites and presentations. And then also, as the creators of these messages, whether it's online or in presentations, we really have an opportunity to lead by example in terms of having new staff see how we describe working with people with disabilities and how we describe workforce services to VR customers. So, whoops, I don't know why it keeps doing that. Sorry about that. So this is an interesting graphic that I discovered, and I thought it was appropriate for our discussion today. It's from the Technical Assistance Federal Agency or Federal Technical Assistance Center. It's the Integration Continuum. It sort of describes this as a process. And you'll notice at the very highest level of integration, it touches on words like high level of trust and interdependencies with agency coordination and integration. So just to say that this is a very ongoing process, and certainly these are examples, but by no means is this all of the answers. So we really do want to hear from you today and add to this discussion. So with that, I'm going to kick it off with Michelle.
Thank you, Lisa. So first of all, I wanted to thank everybody for joining us this morning. And I always have a lot of nervous energy, so forgive me because I'm going to be walking and talking. And so, it's just one of my quirks. And what I'm going to talk about today is related to earned media or public relations, media relations. I am Michelle Castrow. I am from the Gulf Coast Workforce Board in Houston, Texas. And since the start of the pandemic, we have generated more than $30 million in earned media. So today I'm going to have some clips to share with you. I'm not going to show all of them, but they are all in the presentation, so you can go back and watch all of those. But before I get started, I have to give a huge shout out to my partners in Houston in VR, Marilyn Gilbreth, who's sitting in the room, as well as Susan Lindsay and Cheryl Guido, who are all incredibly cooperative. So that's the first lesson, is that being persistent and being educational, because we work in the same building, but that anytime we do different things, we don't always know exactly what each other is doing. So just starting with that open channel of communication. And again, I give great thanks to having great partners. So starting off, next slide, please. So I'm going to share 3 quick tips about integrating VR into your earned media outreach. And tip number 1 is that individuals with disabilities are your customers. It's true regardless of job function. So again, remind people, if you are a VR professional, remind your board staff that individuals with VR are their customers. And same with anybody who's here from the board. Remember that individuals with disabilities are your customers, again, regardless of our job function. Next slide, please. Everything is bigger in Houston. It just is. And so from a very high level strategic view, even our workforce board has equity and inclusion as part of our strategic plan. So it is just part of our nature. Next slide, please. And so it's really a no-brainer that when we have an opportunity to do outreach, that we include VR services, because again, people with disabilities are our customers, and we're always thinking from the big picture. We have to act thinking of that inclusivity. So this was episode 6 of 81 of our partnership with ABC 13. And this one episode was able to reach 24,000 viewers with disability messages. And this was very early on in the pandemic where people were having difficulty finding us, you know, both Workforce Solutions and VR. So we were able to give that information so that people could simply find what they needed because they couldn't just walk into those offices. Next slide, please. And then moving forward into January, you see where we were able to leverage our partnership with Fox 26 in order to have Maryland go live on the news and share information about a virtual job fair. So again, here we go, this one reaches about 76,000 people.
Not too bad at all. Thanks for that, Mike. Well, if you happen to be looking for a job, we want to make sure that you know of that event that will be taking place tomorrow. So mark your calendars. Now, it's for anyone, but especially for someone who might have a disability. Joining us.
It's okay. There's, again, all of these links are embedded into the presentation. And so if we'll go to the next slide. And again, now we move forward. This is Autism Awareness Month. So again, in Houston, we have 3 very solid TV partnerships. And this is with ABC 13 in Houston, with Fox 26, and then with Univision. So every week we are providing content to these outlets. So it makes perfect sense that we take advantage of those opportunities to share VR information. And we try and be timely. We have to remain relevant because again, we're 2 years into the pandemic. We are not at 14% unemployment. And so it's not just about job search advice. It is about how do we help people go to work. And so during Autism Awareness Month, we were able to take advantage of talking about how individuals with developmental disabilities can be active participants in the workforce. And we were able to use the Start My VR as the call to action. So again, a great examples of how we are able to leverage our partnership with VR to increase our own outreach efforts. Next slide, please. And again, now here we are. Tip number 2, diversity, equity, and inclusion is essential to business success. So once again, not only are you reaching individuals, but now you can provide services to your business. Next slide, please. So this one I would like, if we can play it. Again, Paving Pathways to Success is a program out of the Vocational Rehabilitation Services group here in Houston. And so we put together this video that demonstrates some of the collaboration, but it articulates so well the value that individuals with disabilities bring to the workforce. And so we work together to put this video together. And again, if we're not able to, that's quite all right. Again, what I really wanted to demonstrate is, again, the cooperation and the collaboration in terms of being able to get the information and then use it to the advantage of both parts of the house, right? Because we generate awareness of VR services, but Workforce Solutions is also providing service to these media outlets in terms of being able to provide good information that their viewers want. Okay, well, we won't worry about it, but again, so again, tip number 1 is that individuals with disabilities are your customers, regardless of what side of what hat you wear. Tip number 2 is that diversity, equity, and inclusion is a relevant topic for your employers right now. So not only does it give you an opportunity to enrich your relationship with those employers, but it also, again, you can leverage it with your media outreach. And this is one of my favorites. So human interest stories are, quite frankly, the easiest to pitch. So to everybody in the room, always keep your eye out for your success stories, because those are the easiest to pitch. Those are the easiest for media outlets to pick up. Trust me when I tell you, I've had some great interviews over the last 2 years, but by far, this was one of the easiest. And this is a gentleman named Cole Cameron. And he has autism, but that doesn't stop him from working. And so with the help of a job coach, he works a little bit differently. And so this was at the peak of the pandemic, when you will recall that restaurants were reopening and having difficulty finding workers. But guess what? We found them. We found them a great worker. And again, simply educating our employers, educating our community, that individuals with disabilities can work, they can contribute, and they can be, it's not only about helping the individual, but it's also about helping those businesses. And when we talk in terms of reach, this story, each time it aired, reaches about 175,000 people. And it ran at least 6 times in that weekly cycle, in addition to all of the extra coverage that we gave to it using social media. So if we are able, no, we are not able. So I'm gonna ask you to, when you get the slide, all of these links are embedded in there. And I encourage you to take a look at it, because there's some wonderful stories in here of how we've been able to integrate both vocational rehabilitation services into the workforce solutions outreach. Again, my contact information is in the slide. And if you just Google #thejobslady, you will find this face showing up all the time. So it's my pleasure now to hand it over to Kendra Bell. Yes, sir. Oh, yeah, I'll do that. Mm-hmm.
Thank you. How you're able to talk to the media, and how you're able to get them on your wavelength, because usually it takes a special reporter to be interested in doing these kind of stories. And there's a lot of competition in Houston, I'm sure, with the air. So how does that, how have you accomplished that? So
the question again is, how do we approach getting the story out to the media? And so I'm not going to take too much time on this, but I am going to tell you that we are in a really good position, because we do have that special reporter in Nick Notario. He is with ABC 13. And as the story goes, which many of you have probably heard this before, it started with an Instagram post back when people could not get through to file for unemployment. He was trying to help people. So he posted on Instagram, and he actually tagged the wrong workforce board. So my colleague over in Tarrant County called me and said, "You got something here." So in educating him, we were able to let him know that, even at that time, we were still trying to put people to work, because the jobs shifted, right? And so we talked about what Workforce Solutions can do to put people back to work. So it required a great deal of persistence in educating and informing all of the reporters, because it all started off very negative. But fortunately, Nick stuck with us. And so that's how we get so many of these stories on. But in general, what I would say, because they're not the only station that we work with, having your success stories, having people who are willing to speak on camera. And the key is always, what's in it for the viewer? So oftentimes we want to push our events or our whatever it is that we're recruiting for. So that's good information, but that's secondary. What comes first is, what is the viewer going to get out of it? So does that mean that I am going to get a new job? Am I going to get a better job? And show me people just like me who are doing that. So that's the secret to my success. And as Marilyn said, the networking, I'm relentless with these reporters. So again, so I close with that. We'll be here to answer some more questions. And we're going to try one more time to show you this fabulous story. He's an amazing young man. Yes. So while they're working on that, the other thing that I will offer to you in terms of doing media outreach is that if you want to put together something that you have that you think could be a good story, reach out to me, and I will be more than happy to give you an hour or two to really work with turning in your idea into how to pitch that. I'll help you identify the different people within the station that you might want to talk to, because just writing a press release and putting it out it's the spaghetti process, right? You throw it up and see what sticks. But like Marilyn said, I'm really relentless with these stations and with these reporters, and I stockpile these things. If they don't buy it the first time, I wait until something else comes along. Because again, anytime you have real stories to share about real human beings, that's a connection. The other thing is I've learned quite a bit through trial and error. And so I'm happy to share those insights because again, when one of us succeeds, we all succeed. I don't know if any of you were up watching the news this morning, but on ABC, the local ABC, Workforce Solutions Capital Area had a segment where they were talking about people in going back to work and the different incentives. And again, it's workforce solutions. So regardless of where we are in the state, it's that rising tide lifts all boats. So that's the concept. So I'm more than happy to help.
This week also marks 1 year since we started our ABC 13 Jobs Fair with Nick Notario.
Yeah, Nick working around the clock during the pandemic, helping so many people get back into the workforce. In fact, Nick joins us live with how a job at a Tex-Mex restaurant changed so many lives. And Nick, we are so proud of the hard work you've done for this past year.
Well, thank you, Mel. That means a lot to me. And I have to say, a year ago, when so many places shut down, we just wanted to make it easy for people to still find jobs from the comfort of their own home. All you have to do is watch each Thursday on our ABC 13 website. And a number of these employers are offering more than just a paycheck. As we discovered, they're offering perks that change lives.
This might be the happiest employee at Tony's Tex-Mex in Katy.
Back in the front.
Someone who takes pride in detail.
There you go.
Uses unique ways to hit his mark.
Sticks is in the corner.
Sticks the corner.
ZZ Top.
ZZ Top.
And isn't afraid to give himself praise.
Good job, Cole.
Cole Cameron joined the restaurant 3 months ago, and it's changed his life.
Do you like working by yourself?
Yeah.
Being independent?
Yeah.
Tony's Tex-Mex teamed with Workforce Solutions with this job coach program. It gets individuals with intellectual development disorders jobs. At first, the candidates work with a job coach. Eventually, the coach leaves and the individual stays on as an employee, a program the restaurant couldn't be happier with.
First, he was working just Tuesdays to see how it goes, but then we started bringing him more on Thursdays as well.
Tony's Tex-Mex prides itself on changing lives. The restaurant has been featured in our weekly virtual job fairs. In addition to a paycheck, new employees can get free English classes and ways to earn an education. Programs as diverse as the menu.
Bring it on. We love new challenges.
Which is why they couldn't be happier with Colt, who was brought on to change his life. But employees say he's impacting all of theirs.
Table. That's my
That's your favorite, right?
Whole pie.
The table.
The table. I say pie now.
All right, Colt, just fantastic right there. And you know, Tony's Tex-Mex isn't done. They're looking for more work.
So again, I use that as the example of, for a couple different things. One is that individuals with disabilities are your customers, regardless of what hat you wear. Two, diversity, equity, and inclusion is a hot topic among employers right now. And you saw that demonstrated in here, how it was supporting a restaurant who was having trouble recruiting. And then three, human interest stories are the easiest to sell. And so again, this was really easy. And a few things following up on your question in the back, and how do I reach out to those employers? So reinforcing those concepts of, it's not necessarily about what Workforce Solutions is selling, because you heard mention of adult education and literacy in there. We just don't use our language. We don't use our acronyms. So making it relevant to the viewers, to our prospective customers. So speaking in their language and showing them what's possible for them. So with that, I will conclude and turn it over to my colleague, Kendra Bell.
Hello. We'll get mine up real quick. I don't walk as much when I'm nervous as Michelle does. I tend to stand still and freeze. Okay. I can do it. All right, so I'll stand back here. Okay. So my presentation is a little different than Michelle's and Brian's. I am going to tell you all about the process that we had locally. Oh, I should tell you where I'm from. North Texas, Wichita Falls. We are a rural board. We cover 11 counties. And anyway, our integration with VR actually started with SEAL. That was where we really saw a change and started to work a lot more closely with our VR counterparts. And this is kind of what our first integration model looked like. And how we got to this particular process is we were handed the rules for SEAL, and we wanted to make sure that we understood them. So we called together all of the different parts, the workforce center, the board, the VR counselors, and we got together and we talked. And we soon found out that both sides of the table had a lot of really strong skills and a lot of good experience. And so then we just kind of had to make decisions on who was going to do what. And so we came up with a process where, VR made a referral to our counselors at the workforce center, who then worked with the business services staff to place someone at a work site. They all worked together to orient the business and the student. And then, they followed the customers through the program. This was a true integrated model because it required a lot of communication back and forth. And of course, we still have SEAL going on today, but I thought it was really interesting yesterday, the keynote speaker who was talking about you put together a plan, but you make sure that it's in pencil and you can cross things out and make some changes. And we thankfully did that. We had a really good group that was at the table that was trying to figure out what was going to work for all and to respect each other's perspectives and things like that. So this is kind of where it started. And I know I'm going back several years. We talk a lot about the pandemic, but this is truly where we saw a change and a better understanding of how to work together and what each other's needs were and how we really kind of did the same things. So anyway, that's where we started. Out of the SEAL meetings, we started seeing the need to have some management meetings where the board staff came together, our contractor supervisors, childcare, VR, and we met about monthly, sometimes bi-monthly, just to get together and talk about what's going on in our own little segment of our business. So our executive director, she starts the meeting, she gives updates, and then she calls on everybody. And everybody has a chance to talk about what's going on with them. And out of these meetings, we have been able to identify different ways to collaborate. We at the board have some local social media. We've got our own local website and things like that that we use to communicate with the public. And a lot of times VR is reliant upon the state, who does a great job communicating. They really do. But not everybody in Wichita Falls is following the Texas Workforce Commission. So we used these meetings to learn things that were going on with VR and start sharing them locally. And then we were able to make referrals between the two and things like that. But as it says down at the bottom here, communication is key. The communication between management and all of the parts of what we do has been essential to making sure that our community knows the resources that are available and what all we do. I've kind of already touched on this, social media integrations. We added VR to our rotation. We schedule out our posts in advance, and we try to do at least one per week, one per weekend, and spread it out amongst the different services that we provide. And this is kind of the way we do it. We also created an easy way for staff and management team to submit information that they want us to share. So like I mentioned, our management gets together, but sometimes there's, business services department or the counselors or a committee out there that maybe our communications team doesn't realize is happening. Well, we created a Google form in which they can submit the information directly to the communications team, put their contact information in there. If they've got an example of something that they want published, they can upload a link and things like that. So that has made a huge difference to us to be able to know what to share. And then I just added an extra resource on there that we use to make sure that things that we share are accessible. The other thing that we started doing is including VR in our annual report. This year, sadly, was the first time that we had done that, but we feel like because VR is such an integral part of what we do and that they offer a lot to our community. And we realized our annual report, we have one that's very graphic. These are kind of screenshots of some of the pages. We send them out to all of our stakeholders and our community partners to let them know what we've done throughout the year. And when I say community partners, that's anything from our board members. Again, we cover 11 counties, board members, chambers of commerce, economic development, just all of the different people that we work with throughout the year. And it's a really good way to communicate with them what we do and what we can do. And we've received feedback and questions in the past once they received our annual reports, because there are things in there that maybe they didn't know that we could do. And so this year we added VR in there, and I counted it up, and we had 7 pages out of 32 that were talking directly about VR services or about projects that we had done together through the year. So that's something that we're really proud of, that we feel like is going to make a huge difference in communicating to our community what we do collaboratively together. One thing that I want to mention on this, in the annual report, we also include success stories from our students that went through the SEAL program and WIOA, but specifically through the SEAL program, during our orientations, I just wanted to give you all this idea. During our orientations, we get photo releases. That's when we have the parents engaged, we have the students engaged, and we make sure that that is a piece of what we do so that we can take pictures of them and get their story. And then of course we circle back to them if we are going to do a story and make sure it's still okay. But that has enabled us to be able to share the successes that we've had. We've had some of those students that come back year after year. We've had some of the students that were hired on by the employer because they did such a great job. We've had some that went from a SEAL program to a year-round work experience. So we've had some really good successes out of that. And we want to share that again with our stakeholders to make sure that they understand that we're not just advertising services that we do, we actually see results. So anyway, that's one way that we do that. The next thing that I'm going to talk about is Welcome to Texoma. It's kind of unique, and we are not the Texoma board. So I just need to kind of side note that because everybody thinks Texoma as the board, but we're right up on the Oklahoma-Texas border. And so we're known as Texoma too, locally. So anyway, Welcome to Texoma is a local welcome service that this lady, Sally Gray, she's been in business for 20 years. And what she does is she welcomes new people to town, people who have just moved in. She receives referrals from realtors. We also have an Air Force base in Wichita Falls. And so anytime and it's a training base. So we have a lot of people that come in and out constantly to our air base. And so people can refer, someone that they know that's moving to town to Sally, and she goes and welcomes them with a welcome basket full of reliable, good businesses that they can count on in the community. And so we have, as you call it, subscribed to her service. We provide information to her to share with the new people into the community. And we have given her information from all of our different segments. So from Workforce Center, childcare, VR. She also customizes the baskets. So if they don't have kids, they aren't going to get the childcare brochure necessarily. But she does provide the Workforce Center information and disability services information in those baskets to everyone. So anyway, we found that is a really good way to touch people the minute they step foot in North Texas. She covers a pretty wide area of our counties. And so that's, if y'all have one of those, subscribe. I don't know, I've never heard of it before, but I just wanted to share that with y'all, that it is a way that we are able to get our information into the community. Because if you just move to town, you probably need a job. So anyway, other integrations. I said that, our true integration started with SEAL, and I do believe that it did, because that's our day-to-day. We have day-to-day integrations, referrals, and things like that. But we've actually been working with VR back before they were VR, when they were still DARS. We actually started an event that was first held in 2016. This year will be our 15th anniversary, because we skipped 2 years. I can do math. But it'll be our 15th anniversary to host this event, but it is for juniors and seniors in high school who have disabilities. And it has been a true committee collaboration between the board, Student Hireability Navigator, Business Services, DARS VR, and then our community partners. And that is, anyway, that's just one way that we're serving the community, and we've been doing it together since 2006, and we're just really proud of that. So I thought I would share it too. And then our website, again, I said we manage our local website locally, and we added in a way for customers to connect directly with VR staff. We have a form on there where someone, contact us form. And we realized one day that we were having people that were asking questions, and I kept on referring them over to our VR staff. And so we just asked them, I was like, is there a way that we can just do this automatically? And so they have a established email address that goes directly to their counselors. And so customers can get directly to them when they come to our website. And then last but not least, before we move on to the next people, I know we're running short on time probably. What's next for us? So I feel like we do a really good job of thinking of each other and referring to VR and working really well together. But we also know that all of our staff do not interact day to day. We've got people that work, on the back end on reports or whatever, who may not have another chance to get to meet their counterparts in other areas of our business. So actually, when I get back to town on Thursday of this week, we're having a staff development day. And we're really excited about it and proud of it because it's the first time that absolutely all of our staff is coming together. So our childcare, our workforce, our VR, our Texas Veterans Commission, like everybody that works with us is coming together. And we're going to do a half day. We've been joking because we've been so excited and we're doing active shooter training, but that's only a little piece of it. So anyway, we're going to do some training, but we're also going to make sure that we have a way to engage and do some team building activities and really work, give the staff a chance to really know each other and work with each other in a different capacity, because we know that that's the way that you build trust, is you start working with people and communicating with them. Even from the beginning, this came up in our management meetings, and so there was an invitation put out to all who wants to help plan this thing. And so it's even a collaborative planning that we've got going on, and then we're having it off-site just so that everybody feels comfortable. Anyway, in that space. So that's really all I have. So if y'all have any questions, let me know. Try to talk fast because of our technical difficulties earlier. All righty.
Thank you. Thank you. So I'm happy to now introduce Giovanni Torrencio. She is the VR Community Outreach and Awareness Specialist for Region 3 in here in the Austin area. Giovanni, I'm going to pull up your slides.
Howdy. Guess what? I'm an Aggie. Good morning, everyone. I hope everybody's doing well. Oh my gosh, the wealth of information that we've had here. My name is Giovanni and I am with Vocational Rehabilitation. I've been with the state for about 30 years. So the Community Outreach and Awareness Specialist position has only been in existence for the last 2 years. And I love my job. I love telling people about VR and what we do and how we can help people, because we're unfortunately a best kept secret. We were Texas Rehab Commission long time ago. Then we were DARS, and we were that for quite some time. And then when we integrated with the workforce, it's a wonderful thing, but a lot of our offices co-located with the workforce centers. And so people that were used to our building being there, they're like, oh, well, they must have closed up. They probably got government funding cuts or whatever, and they don't exist anymore. They called our phone numbers, and after 6 months, they weren't forwarded anymore. So they just think we went away. So that's what community outreach for Voc Rehab is here to do, is to tell people that we still exist. We're still out here. Voc Rehab has existed for 102 years and and is available in every state in our country. It's not always called Voc Rehab. It's called different things depending on the state, but we are here helping people with disabilities every day who want to get a job, keep a job, or advance in a job. And that's what we're here for. We meet people where they are. If they're receiving Social Security insurance and they want to work, we help them. If they have had an injury that is preventing them from being able to do their essential functions of their job, we're going to help them as long as they want to work, whether that means education and training or whatever the case may be. So Michelle was wonderful in shouting out our Gulf Coast region people. And yes, my counterpart, Marilyn Gilbreth, is right here. My counterpart from the DFW area, Marquita, is also here. And my counterpart from the East Texas area, Renee, or Ray, I don't know why I said Renee, sorry, Ray, her beautiful blue eyes. I met her for the first time in person yesterday. So I have counterparts in all 6 regions of the state. If you don't know your community outreach and awareness person, please reach out to us. We love to talk to people, especially about VR. So next slide, please. In Region 3, our purpose, I talked about that already, so we can move on. Actually go back, because that's the purpose of the outreach strategy work group, and that's what I'm talking about. So in Region 3, the Central Texas area, which is 5 workforce boards, that is rural capital, capital area, heart of Texas, Central Texas, and Brazos Valley. And I'm from Brazos Valley, so like I said, Aggie through and through, love my Brazos Valley people, so shout out to Brazos Valley. We started a outreach strategy work group because we have 5 workforce boards that we're working with. And the needs in Waco are not the same needs as in San Marcos. And the needs in Round Rock are not the same needs as in Bryan College Station. So we have staff from each of our 4 management units get together once a month, and we meet to talk about outreach. How are we going to get the message of VR out there? And so the purpose of the outreach strategy work group was to increase VR referrals in Central Texas by strategizing and creating new ideas for outreach, creating new materials and language for content to be approved by state office, and work together to create additional outreach projects. So our group has been able to develop 4 flyers, 4 one-page flyers that talk about VR. One is just a general VR flyer. There's a transition VR flyer, and these are less than 180 words or maybe up to 200 words on the transition flyer. You hand somebody a brochure, what are the chances are that they're going to read that whole brochure front to back? I mean, I know I don't. So a short one-page flyer that piques a question, piques an interest, kind of goes to them. We've got one on low vision. We've got one on hearing impairments. So when I go out now that I'm able to go out and work events, thankfully often to Brian, because that's our integration. Brian has meetings, and I'm sorry if I'm going to rain on your parade, but Brian holds meetings once a week on Mondays at 2 o'clock. And I try never to miss those meetings because I find out about ribbon cuttings. I find out about job fairs. I would have never gotten invited to the Austin Community College grand opening that they had it not been for Brian. So working together with my VR and my workforce counterparts opens the door to lots of opportunities. So we were able to create 4 flyers. They're available on our website. We can email them to you, and you can email them to everybody. And they're kind of color heavy, but we can get them from our print shop. We can send them to you. You can put them in your workforce centers. And we're talking about what else can we do? What else can we do for outreach? And working together with the public information officers is the great way to do that. because VR and workforce, there's a lot of times when I go to events, whether it's at a school or wherever it may be, when I get there to check in and I know I've got a table reserved, I say, I'm Texas Workforce Commission Vocational Rehabilitation. And it always takes a minute because they're like, oh, you're TWC. And I'm like, yes, but I'm TWC Voc Rehab. You may have 2 or 3 tables that are TWC. You might have a child care table from TWC. And so sometimes they have a table for me and sometimes they don't, because they think Texas Workforce is all one big thing. And so they just think we're all in the same table, but we're getting there. So next slide. Oh, that's all I had. Okay, I guess so. Questions? Questions. We're meeting once a month, our outreach strategy work group. Again, that is in our area because of our diverse area. I mean, we're not one main metropolitan area. So yeah, questions. What do y'all want to know about our outreach group or VR or how to reach out to your COAs? Anything? Okay, well, Brian, bring us home.
Thank you so much, Giovanni.
All right. Hello, everybody. I am Brian Hernandez. I represent the rural capital area, which is the 9 counties that surround Travis County. Or we're the donut that surrounds Travis. I'm not sure if you guys care about the donut or the whole. It's up to you. You can decide for yourselves. Just a quick integration story, kind of non-related to this. Our family recently integrated by adopting a cat. And we have always been a dog family for a very, very long time. I've never had a cat in any household. And for those who have cats, congratulations. I'm learning now. It is life altering. And quick story, I have a 14-year-old son and then I have twin 3-year-old daughters. And my daughter and I were sitting on the couch the other day. We've had this cat for a couple months now and it just does its own thing. It's constantly around. We see it, but it never wants to sit in our lap. We feed it, we just kind of house it, we throw toys at it, but it does its own thing. It's just always around. We just can never really connect with it. But funny thing, the other day, my daughter was sitting on my lap, we were watching TV, she was on my phone. She and I are just kind of talking to each other and the cat jumped up onto my lap, laid down, stared at both of us and just started purring. And my 3-year-old daughter looked at me and she's like, "What's with the cat?" And for me, that was more of the thing like, okay, finally we broke through, right? There was a connection there. So in a lot of ways, I think, it's kind of a weird kind of connection, but that's a lot of what our outreach really is, right? We're constantly trying to push out content so that we are reminding our customers, reminding our communities that we exist and we have services that can really appeal to them, but they may not need it right then and there, right? They're going to pull it in when they finally need it. So a lot of what we're doing is really, making sure that we are available, that we are generating awareness, and that when our communities finally do need us, they can pull us in and maybe get a little bit of a purr, a little bit of a hug out of it, that type of a thing. So kind of moving on. So one of the things I want to talk about here and kind of what my end of the conversation is really about what Giovanni pointed out and what everyone's really been pointing out is the idea about really kind of bringing our teams together. Our board is very, very specific. Our leadership has been very, very clear that we may have partnerships, we may have contractors, but our customers walk in through one door and they don't care about who does what, they just want a solution. So, for us, what that means is we need to really drop our barriers, get out of our silos, bring everyone together as much as possible, and really work towards multiple goals, right? Part of what the goals can be event-based, which I'll talk about as well. But a lot of the goals really just have to be with just a clear, transparent understanding of what expectations are. What is your vision for success? And then what we try to do also through our groups is try to work backwards. We reverse engineer. What do we want our customers to walk away with? What action or what call to action do we want for them? And then we just really kind of build up to it and we try to find the right vehicle, the right messaging to try to better understand what that is. But it all stems from really also understanding who our audience is. So really what I wanted to talk about here on this slide is the idea that you can actually, really clarify your goals by just talking to each other and listening to our different teams. So thanks to Giovanni, thanks to Lisa, thanks to Leslie Abbott, our wonderful VR manager in our area. What they really helped us understand is, and one of the big things is that, accommodation isn't a dirty word with employers. And that's something I know from VR staff, that's a big thing. For the most part, when we have talked to employers, that's usually the barrier for them wanting to recruit more and more people. And what we're trying to do with them is remind them that, first of all, accommodations, as far as I know from VR, there really is no limit as to what we'll do to make sure that someone is successful in their position. So whatever that accommodation may be. And you'll see from some of the examples here, there's different types of assistive technology. Another really important thing as to what we're doing is really showcasing our team so that we can lower the fear factor about making that connection. So really showcasing who our teams are on VR services, showcasing who our board members are that may have a connection to VR services. And we are very fortunate to have Cassandra Moya as a board member on our team, one of 27 board members that we have. And actually, we actually went up to DC with her, Washington, DC, with the National Association of Workforce Boards. And she was able to represent VR to Senator Cruz's office, to Senator Cornyn's office, to Congressman Williams's office, and really just generate more awareness of all the things that we're doing here in Texas on behalf of VR services and for our communities. So, that's part of what we're trying to do as well. Again, we're trying to really help people understand to internally and externally what our vision is, what we're trying to achieve as a team, who our team is, but more importantly, really showcasing our commitment and the things that we're trying to build together. Some of the outreach examples I wanted to include here, again, think of the cat thing, right? We're going to kind of be everywhere as much as we possibly can. But then we also do targeted messages as well. So when I was talking to our teams, our VR teams, one of the things they kept talking about was very, very clear that 1 in 5 Americans will face a physical or mental disability. And making sure that I'm grabbing those messages and I'm working with our outreach team to really develop those out into calls to action that are really going to generate more awareness and encourage people to connect with us and learn more. The other thing as well is really helping people understand that you don't have to necessarily use our own content to do that. And we'll talk about this actually in another session as well today, but using syndicated content. There's a lot of really great newspapers and websites and things of that sort and groups out there that are writing really good content about disability employment. Don't be afraid to use that disability employment content and just repurpose it. Point to the services you offer, add some little more context, and you can actually promote that as well. And then another thing as well, is, as far as our outreach and what we've learned from our teams, is that by showcasing what we're doing as a group and really demonstrating our culture and celebrating the employers who are really investing in our workforce, especially those with all abilities, that's another way of pulling back the curtain and showing people what is possible. But more importantly, that workers of all abilities are accepted and that workers of all abilities can really, really increase your bottom line. One of the great examples we had recently is we've been working with Commissioner Demerson's office and VR services to really recognize employers that have made a commitment to hiring workers with disabilities. So in our rural capital area, we just celebrated the We Hireability Award with Bloom Consulting, which is based out of Round Rock. And one of the great things about the session that we had there, we hosted a really big event, really good turnout, was that the employer basically, when the CEO went up to talk, and we thought this was really fun, he talked about how, yes, they maintain a workforce of at least 10%, but actually it might even be up to 60% because they never really kind of, reviewed it all. But the most important thing that they wanted to really push out there was that they hire the very best workforce possible. If they happen to have a disability, they happen to have a disability, but they look for the very best candidates first. And that was a really good message, and that's what we've been trying to share as well. So again, that's a message that comes out of our committees, that's the message that comes out of our meetings, and more importantly, it's a message that reflects all of our brands and what we're trying to do. And so another part of what we're trying to do as well is really humanize our messages as well. And this is something that's really come out of our communication meetings every week, is the idea that we need to look for testimonials, we need to look for examples of human-based stories that are really going to demonstrate our proof of performance, that are really going to help our customers, help our communities really understand a little bit more about what we're up to and the great results and the great solutions that they can get out of connecting with our teams. So there on the left-hand side, you'll see one. We actually have collected quite a few Summer Earn and Learn SEAL testimonials. We've also used some national content as well. The Department of Labor does provide a lot of different videos through the We Can campaign. So we've used those videos as well, and those are very easy for you to use. I definitely encourage you to tap into those. You can download the videos. They already have captioning included as well. And they also have a lot of references that you can use as part of your social media campaigns. Again, using syndicated content from other sources, whether it's Forbes or one of these other types of website or magazines that are out there talking about disability employment. And then also tapping into our wonderful state level content that they're putting on a very regular basis. So again, encouraging, these are all the things that we're communicating with in our meetings on a regular basis about learning more about what we can do. But more importantly, we are reviewing our analytics and looking at engagement and different people's comments and really learning from their behavior as to what's resonating and what's not. So definitely experiment and learn. And so this is kind of the culminating thing I really want to talk about was the idea that we are, as Giovanni mentioned, we do host a weekly communications meeting. And this stemmed from a while back, the opportunity for me to learn more about what we were doing in VR services. Definitely encourage you to really look at this, try to incorporate this if you can. Doesn't have to be every week. For us, we have a lot of different things going on. We're a very, very active board. We have a lot of different events in motion. We're also, we've got, as Michelle has pointed out, a very strong media campaign and really good media partners that they're always asking for content. So we're trying to feed them content that has a news peg that is timely, that can tie into current events. But more importantly, I think the most important thing is that we are sharing on a regular basis with our VR services team and childcare services team and our contractors, our editorial calendar. And we're looking at things coming up. We're looking at the things in the future and things we can build towards together. And because we are collaborating, we're able to actually share ideas and experiences. And that's been just valuable. I don't know, I can't speak for Leslie or Giovanni or Sella or Arthur or anybody else that's actually in our group, but I'm really proud that we have multiple levels of VR staff in there because they provide so much insight into what they believe is going to work and the message that's going to create a lot of value for the audiences that they're working with and the customers that they connect with. And the other part of this as well is really seeing how we can possibly connect with employers in a different way as well. And I'll talk about that kind of on the next slide, but I did want to show on there, this is actually from last week. Actually, we had a smaller group because everyone's kind of moving around, but this is actually, that was a snapshot from our group last week. We just kind of jumped in there and we just took a really quick picture. And we're so committed to this. We actually even built a logo just for our team, just for fun. So we actually put a little communications team logo together because technically I'm the communications person for the board. We have Angela Maldonado, who's our communications person for our workforce contractor. And technically that's pretty much our comms team, but actually in our reality, it's everyone that has anything to do with outreach across all of our different partnerships and contractors. So this is kind of where I really want to talk about as far as kind of where the rubber meets the road. Because we're strengthening our relationships, because we are experimenting with content, because we are trying to get a better understanding of what employers need, what job seekers need, that actually translates into, this is going to be our 4th year, but we do host National Disability Employment Awareness Month webinars. And it started out with really just kind of in-person things back in 2019. I think we hosted like 3 or 4 events. But this year we're aiming for, I believe still doing virtual, and that was as a result of COVID. And we had really good attendance because we went virtual. We were able to actually expand out participation more than we would have in person. And really what all of that relationship building throughout the entire year does in our communication meeting is it allows us to really tap into what VR services, who the audiences they're trying to reach. It allows us to really understand what employer needs are through Arthur and our business services team. And then they work together to tailor each one of the webinars for different purposes or whatever the need is that hasn't been addressed yet, or even one that maybe we've addressed before but we want to revisit. Also, it gives us an opportunity to really select the best moderators and best panelists to participate in this amongst our teams. So really, this is for us a showcase of our wonderfully talented VR services team, and then how our business services team really integrates with them to deliver for employers. And this is some examples of kind of the things that we've done. You'll see a lot of familiar faces here. And we're very, very fortunate that in each one of our sessions, we do have ASL, our wonderful ASL interpreters that are able to offer more assistance. And one thing we did experiment with last year, and I encourage you to do this, is to find an employer within your community that possibly you can showcase during National Disability Employer Awareness Month. So last year, what we did was we actually went out to Texas Sweet Heat Jams, which is based in Leander. It's actually owned and operated by a young man named Nolan Stillwell, who does have Down syndrome. And one of the things that he and his family did was they started up this company so that they could really invest in him and his entrepreneurial skills and his spirit to want to create something unique. And he loves to cook. And more importantly, he really wanted to create opportunities for other people with disabilities that could work with him and learn about business, entrepreneurship and starting up a business. Well, we went ahead and we actually visited them in their fully, commercial kitchen that they actually use to develop these products. Nolan has been featured nationally on NBC News, him and his products, and more importantly, it provided an opportunity for people when they go through HEB and see his products on the store shelves to really connect and understand, this is an employer that's really giving back because he knows what the challenges are and he's risen above them, and there's no one more adept than someone who deals and follows and finds solutions on a daily basis for the challenges they have. And this is kind of just, really what I wanted to showcase, this idea that, I didn't know this company really existed. I think I've seen their products, but this came out of that meeting. This came out of that regular conversation with our business services staff and our VR staff. So again, kind of the idea is that by really looking at opportunities to collaborate on a very regular basis, if not weekly, try to find other ways of doing that, bringing in all types of ideas, have it really a free flow of communication, and don't be afraid to really push the envelope and experiment and dabble and put out content that you haven't necessarily tried out before, maybe change up the verbiage, but more importantly, write to a particular audience, and you can have different audiences. But continue to build on that, continue to share those results, continue to talk about the metrics, continue to talk about the KPIs and the results that you're seeing amongst that group, and then everyone will continue to learn. I learned, I have a friend that really referenced me not too long ago. It said basically, as you grow, lift, and this is the idea that we're all improving together by learning and experimenting together. So thanks so much. And if anybody has any questions?
One question.
Sure.
The name of the company you just mentioned.
Oh, Texas Sweet Heat Jams. And they're based out of Leander, and they are located, I believe their products are in all the HEBs in the area.
And we have another question for Giovanni online. Where's the website for the flyers that you mentioned?
If I push this, can y'all hear me? Okay, so the website for the flyers, you can Google, because that's the easiest way I know to get there, is Google Texas Workforce Vocational Rehabilitation. And there you go to our webpage. And on the left-hand side, there are quick links, and it takes you to our publications. And there are listed all the publications that can be downloaded, including the one-page flyers that have been developed. My email address is giovanni.torrencio@twc.texas.gov. So if you want to drop me an email, I can email you back with the attachments, if that's easier for you.
We have another question.
Thank you very much, all of you, for your presentations. It's great. This is, I think, directed for Brian. And I just wanted to clarify the Nadine webinars that you mentioned. Who is your target audience?
You guys can hear me okay? Primarily, it's for employers within our region. And I think that's, it's indicative of the spirit of the national event, as the idea of really helping employers understand the value of hiring people with all abilities and especially all backgrounds as well. But I think, one of the things that benefits us is that actually I can go to Leslie, I can go to Giovanni, I can go to Lisa and get a better understanding of what particular employers have you maybe had a challenge in connecting with, right? One of the best things that we have to learn from is a great barometer of what true success is. And we have within our area Dell Technologies. You guys are all familiar with Dell computers. Their headquarters are based in Round Rock. And we recognized them as a board a few years ago with the Local Employer Excellence Award for the neurodiversity employment program that they kicked off and they started up to really hire, retain, train, and advance people with disabilities, primarily those on the autism spectrum. So for us, we understand that, maybe in some ways that's the heights of the very, very tippy top of, what an employer can do to really create an entire environment of inclusion. And then we're trying to just encourage other employers to kind of work towards that. And I think that's really what these webinars are all about, is breaking up what employers like that are doing. And we're trying to create more useful strategies to get there and sharing best practices.
Thanks for that question. Any other questions for anybody? I really appreciate all of our speakers today. Thank you all so much for joining us and sharing these wonderful presentations. These are all available online, and we didn't have time, but on my slide, I included several bullets on things that you can look for in terms of when you're talking to workforce customers that might indicate that they have a disability or a condition that VR can assist with. So check out our presentations online, and thank you all, everybody, including those folks online, for joining us today. Thank you. I know it's still finding a way to do some outreach or to, I know how much you did in your former role. So. Yeah, of course. Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, well, it depends on, this is a slide based on what Michelle's presentation, so she relays this in her presentation. We really should have it like on a fact sheet or something, but we haven't done that yet. But that's definitely an area we want to look at, is giving boards materials they can use. Yeah. Yeah. But
Hi, Lisa. Good morning.